Good. And they need to be oranges also.
YouTube.
And will we find it later, or we will find it
I
tomorrow?
record it as well. Yeah.
And then we.
But it's not going to be tomorrow because I
Monday
then need
morning.
to edit it. So it's going to be
Maybe
next
you send
week.
us the link to it or later.
Yeah, for sure.
Good.
Yeah, good. Good. And they need to be oranges also.
YouTube.
And will we find it later, or we will find it
I
tomorrow?
record it as well. Yeah.
And then we.
But it's not going to be tomorrow because I
Monday
then need
morning.
to edit it. So it's going to be
Maybe
next
you send
week.
us the link to it or later.
Yeah, for sure.
Good.
Yeah, good. Good. And they need to be oranges also.
YouTube.
And will we find it later, or we will find it
I
tomorrow?
record it as well. Yeah.
And then we.
But it's not going to be tomorrow because I
Monday
then need
morning.
to edit it. So it's going to be
Maybe you
next
send
week.
us the link to it or later.
Yeah, for sure.
Good.
Yeah, good. Good. And they need to be oranges also.
YouTube.
And will we find it later, or we will find it
I
tomorrow?
record it as well. Yeah.
And then we.
But it's not going to be tomorrow because I
Monday
then need to
morning.
edit it. So it's going to be
Maybe
next
you send
week.
us the link to it or later.
Yeah, for sure.
Good.
Yeah, good. Good. And they need to be oranges
YouTube.
And will we find it later, or we will find it
I
tomorrow?
record it as well. Yeah.
And then we.
But it's not going to be tomorrow because I
Monday
then need
morning.
to edit it. So it's going to be
Maybe
next
you send
week.
us the link to it or later.
Yeah, for sure.
Good.
Yeah, good. Good. And they need to be oranges
YouTube.
And will we find it later, or we will find it
I
tomorrow?
record it as well. For sure.
Good.
also. Good.
Hallo. Hallo. Ich bin nicht zu spät, Englisch-Deutsch? Nein.
Oh, okay. You're the authorities for the privacy regarding blockchain. Specifically here at Civil Labs, we have the co-working space. So we have this building. There is one similar in Malut, and there is a new one opening in Dubai this year. So this is one of the achievements. Is like Civil Labs is there is opening in Dubai. Regarding the events, well, and as well as startups. Estimate, yeah, there is some big companies that they would like to develop products with blockchain. And the incubators, we have incubators around 30 startups. And the next startups
Okay, I think everybody is ready. So we have everybody's attention. Okay, well, good evening, everybody. First of all, thank you very much for being here of this year. Well, for me, that's all. This is just a really general introduction of who we are and what we do here. And now I will pass the word to Beat. So he's really happy he decided to join us today and do the opening on the name of Canton Zug. So we are more than happy to have him.
Thank you so much, Fabiola. Thank you so much. Welcome here. I'm so happy to stay in front of you and that you're here. And I would first thank obviously Fabiola, Ralph, and the whole CVVC team for their great contribution to develop this location to Zug. I'm paid by Canton Zug, so I mean I have to talk for Canton Zug. I'm obviously also interested that the whole Switzerland, the greater Zurich area. Now I just wanted to quickly, briefly announce three things why I believe this is a very extraordinary place we're meeting here. And I'm really proud of it. Number one, Fabiola showed it. We're really proud to be part of that story, how one of the few global epicenters, let's say, of blockchain, started here. And I have personally, the chance 7 years ago when I started that job, half a year later, Vitalik Buterin, Ethereum guys, these guys came to knocked at our door and said, there are some crazy guys and would like to see if we should, settle here. And it was part of an unbelievable journey. And we're so happy that our government was so bold and open and said, oh, okay, what are these guys doing? Oh, well, we don't know, but let's try. That sounds interesting. So, what came out of that, and we're really happy that CVVC, CV Labs, one of the main drivers, big countries, all the guys here contribute so much, and it's really an extraordinary place for us also to be, that all these guys landed here. And the second reason why it's so extraordinary is you, each of you. Because each of you, I know, somehow works in a blockchain company, crypto company, or has one, but is also here tonight as a private investor, as a consumer. And this is something that I remember years ago when CNN Money did the first interview with me. They challenged and said, yeah, you have all this. Is this a marketing gag here? You do all this marketing. Where's the mass adoption? The Swiss, they still pay all in cash. You walk around too. You can hardly pay with Bitcoin. So we are so happy that since let's say about 2 years or so, this mass adoption wave starts, and that needs people like you. So you guys are so valuable for us, and we're so grateful that you are here and you contribute to the mass adoption. And the third reason I think it's a very extraordinary time to be here is, that not many people have really understood that, over 60 years ago, before Crypto Valley started, there was the other crypto already, so we were already crypto land. So and this is an honest question, who of you, please raise your hand, has followed these media reports in the last weeks about the crypto leaks? Who has followed these? So it's now really great for me to see that this is a minority, point one. B, it's really interesting because, for us, it was also very special to hear, like a couple of weeks ago, that the secret that 20 years ago journalists started trying to find out, and it was really confirmed that CIA and the German Secret Service were indeed owning this Zug company called Crypto AG, which produced all mechanical ciphering equipment, which was used to basically espionage the whole world, which sometimes, as I understand, has also helped to ensure peace and so on. But it's kind of a special situation now that Zug is in the press for that. But on the other hand, it's also very interesting that most people who don't know anything about Crypto Valley, these are the only ones who basically make the mix-up. And and these guys, when I talk to local people, politicians, that came 6 years ago when Crypto Valley started and said to the government, hey, wait a minute, this is reputation risk, why do you do that? We have this famous crypto again, how comes these crazy guys here? The same guys, like a few weeks ago came and said, are you crazy? What's happening now? This crypto is damaging our Crypto Valley brand. What are you doing to maintain the Crypto Valley brand? So it's just really exciting times. And the only thing was, Ralph, is he sitting here? No. The only thing I was really worried when I started, this afternoon thinking of my little speech here. The only thing I worried was that maybe in 5 years or so, when I'm retired, sitting at home, that some journalist calls me up and said, why didn't you tell the community, that basically CVVC was owned by some secret service? So I just hope this doesn't happen. But in that respect, finishing my speech here, really thanks so much. And my team, by the way, Alberto is also here. If you stand up quickly, Alberto Diaz started this week in our team. Our team of the economic promotion is part of the economic affairs department of the Canton of Zug. Our job is mainly to help companies when they settle, to basically do business most effectively. We want to serve companies and their employees. So we're not primarily, taking care of individuals, but obviously, this is often, very much combined. So we're also happy to, for any questions that you have, any needs, contact us, call us up. We're a one-stop shop, free of charge. We can, get around, find answers, and we're on your contact for the camp. Thank you so much.
We'll pass the word to Albert. He will do the presentation for today. We are really grateful that Albert accepted to give this talk because in general we always hear about doubts, like how we should file taxes for crypto assets. And I have a small conversation with him and say, okay, I'm more than happy to prepare something. So we're looking forward for your presentation, Albert.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Good evening, everybody. I hope you had enough beer and wine to stand the next 10 minutes about Swiss taxation. Sometimes it's boring, sometimes it's interesting. Let me try to do the best. First, I maybe start with a little introduction, who we are, what are we doing. Our company is called Fineac. We are actually talking about the rules, and we are talking about the special taxation situation of crypto assets. We are an independent provider of tax services, accounting services. We have our main office is here in Zug. We have another office in Zurich, and another office since 2 weeks in Schwyz. We got about 35 employees. 2 of them are here. That's Cornelia. She's the head of private taxation, and so she and her team are doing all our tax returns for private people. And Jan is actually my son. He's studying at the university. He's enthusiast of crypto since it came up here in Zug, and so if I have some questions about crypto, he's always helping. His bachelor work he's doing about crypto, so maybe he has to answer the questions later on. Office, as I said, we are a member of Swiss Fiduciary Association, and we are also a member of an international network called Morrison KSI. It's one of the 10 biggest networks in the world, and so we are able to provide services all over the world. And we are proud network partner of CV Labs since 2-3 years, I think, since the beginning. Since the beginning, thank you. And a new partner for tax and blockchain. That's our team. Cornelia, you saw her, Jan, and 2 other ladies. That's our private tax team, private person. Now I think, before I start to tell you about taxation of crypto, I think it's very important that all of you are understanding the tax system in Switzerland for private persons. I'm not talking about companies. So like all over the world, income is taxed. Labor income, dividends, interest is taxed in Switzerland, all over the world. Wealth, that's the third line. Wealth is taxed in Switzerland. Most places in the world there is no wealth tax, and that's very important. I will explain you later. And the other thing, capital gains for private persons are not taxed. There are some exceptions, like on real estate. If you sell real estate as a private person, there is a tax, but normally capital tax is not. Capital gains are not taxed. Meaning, if you hold shares, you hold them for a while, you sell them after a while, there is a gain, there is no tax on it. Same for crypto assets. Yeah. There is an exception, and that's maybe something that you need to know too. If you're trading as a professional, and I will explain you later what it means, then you could be treated as a professional trader. This has not only to do something with blockchain, also with shares or currencies or even cars. So if you do a lot of tradings, then you could be treated as a professional, and it would mean that your capital gains are taxed and not tax-free anymore. So I think that's very important to understand. Now, in Switzerland, you always have to file your worldwide income, meaning if you have a real estate abroad, in Spain, in Italy, even if there is income, rental income, it has to be showed and filed with Swiss tax authorities. It doesn't mean that it will be taxed, but it has to be shown. So rental income abroad, mining income most likely, or maybe abroad, it's always income in Switzerland. The same with your wealth, with your worldwide assets. If you have assets abroad, like real estate somewhere, I said, or cryptocurrencies with a broker in Singapore or in New York, doesn't matter. It has to be showed in your tax return in Switzerland. And I think that's the very important part of it, as we have to declare our wealth. Tax authority knows about your situation, about your worldwide assets. And what's the other side on it? If you declare the first time your tax declaration in Switzerland, so you declare your income and your wealth. As from this point, the changes in your wealth are visible. Meaning, and that's maybe now something, let's do something with chain or with cryptos. If you show your wealth to the tax authorities, and 1 year later your wealth changes dramatically on both sides, there will be the question: what happened? Where is this wealth from? Now maybe you were invested in some shares, maybe you were invested in some cryptos. That's fine, but you have to explain where this growth of wealth came from, and this may rise up from tax authorities, and maybe you could end in a professionality. What does it mean for crypto blockchain? What's the wealth tax implication? As you have to show all your wealth, your worldwide wealth, to tax authorities, it means that you have to show your values in cryptos on your wallets. If you have any tokens, doesn't matter. This is a part of your wealth. Now, what's the price? What's the price for your tokens, for your cryptos? It's always the market price. In a company, it's different. In a company, it's the price that you bought it. But as a private person, the valuation of your wealth is the market price. So if there is a market price on Bitcoin and all the most popular currencies, there is a market price given by tax authorities. All the other, it's the price at the end of the year, because our financial year is always at the end of the year, 31st of December, 1st of January. So it means you have to declare all your wealth, even your crypto wealth, in your yearly tax return. Oops. Sorry for that. Mining income. If you have mining income, that's income. It will be taxed. So it means if you have income from mining, you get paid for your mining. This is income. But it also means that all the costs that are against are deductible from the income. So if you have electricity, you have maybe the depreciations on your computers, whatever, this is deductible. And if there is an income from mining, it doesn't mean only tax, it also means social security. So I give you an example. The highest tax rate in Zug for an individual is about 22%. If you are on the highest tax rate, you pay on your mining income 22% plus roughly 10% of social security.
Excuse me? If you could move more in the light, so
Sorry
you
for
don't
that.
have to turn your head and
Sorry for
the
that.
camera. Yeah.
Same happens if you are treated as a professional trader on your cryptos. We had clients that did thousands of transactions per day, and this is professional. That's no question for the tax authorities. And it means if you're treated as a professional, it means that your income is taxed in the canton where you live. As I said, in Zug about 22% on the highest tax level, plus there is social security on the gain. Again, if there are costs against, then they are deductible from the income. We see often that people do crypto tradings through programs, and this is dangerous. If you use programs and there is profit, normally tax authorities are at least checking what happens. And again, as I said in the beginning, if they see that your wealth increased dramatically, and the increase is not possible by the earnings you had in your salary statement or with other interests or dividends, they will ask questions. It's the same with tokens. If you hold tokens, the value at the end of the year of the tokens are taxable for the wealth tax. And if you do a lot of trading in tokens, then you could be treated as a professional. Where do I get the valuation of the tokens? Same, if there is no valuation from tax authority, and most tokens there is no valuation from tax authority, then you go on a market, and the price paid by the end of the year is the valuation for the tax return. If you don't have market price, then very important, show how many tokens you own, and then you take the price you paid as an example. But very important that you show your tokens. I think that's more or less a little overview about, really a small overview about taxation in Switzerland and how the crypto assets and income could be handled by tax authorities. Maybe another thing, it also depends a little bit where you live. There are places, cantons, they treat you much faster as a professional, not only on cryptos, also on shares, on options, on currencies, like Schweiz. Schweiz is a canton, they are really quick in in treating you as a professional. Zug is not as quick as others. Zurich is also not that bad. If you live in Schweiz, you should really talk to a tax advisor if you have a lot of turnover. What means turnover? If your turnover is more, normally it's more than 5 times the valuation at the end of the year. So let's say your crypto assets are at the end of the year 100,000, but your turnover during the year was, I don't know, 5 million, then that's already something that could be checked. Gains, if the gains are higher than normally 50% of your other income, so you have a salary of 100,000 and your income from trading is 200,000, this could be a problem. And the holdings of the cryptos or of the tokens, if you hold them less than 6 months, that's another thing that could be checked. Yeah.
Hello, good evening. This is Tilman from Silver Bank. I would like to refer to 2 points you just mentioned. So, capital gains tax, let's say, is not taxable if you're not a professional, let's say. And the consolidated tax statement will be calculated by the time you buy it and then by the time you have it in the end of the year. Or how do you exactly calculate this? Because the question I have is, even though capital gains are not taxed, you said that the authorities would like to see what happened between the first point in time snapshot until the day where you have to declare your tax, right? So how do you handle this?
As I said, the valuation of your holdings is always at the end of the year. So if you bought Bitcoin 2 years ago, at the end of 19, the valuation of the Bitcoin as per end of 19 is the valuation for your wealth tax. So even if you bought them 2 years ago on half of the price or whatever, doesn't matter, the valuation as per end of year is the valuation for your wealth tax. Now what happens if tax authorities sees that your wealth increased dramatically, they will maybe ask you in a letter what happens, why did your wealth increase that much? If you are able to explain them, look, I bought the Bitcoins 2 years ago, now they tripled or whatever they did, that's fine, no problem at all. But if you tell them, look, my wealth increased that much because I was trading all these currencies during the year and I made a gain of $1 million and the $1 million is the increase of my wealth, then that's a problem.
So I think then maybe also in terms of, would the government then be interested in seeing what happened throughout these years, let's say through a software integration?
Yes.
Where you can extract data and visualize it.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. I mean, if you in the old times, if you had shares, it was very easy. You had a share custody with the bank, and they could show you that you bought your shares in April, and at the end of the year they doubled the price, whatever. So this was easy. Now in crypto is not that easy, but yeah, there are transactions, there are softwares showing all the transactions, and if they tell you, look, the increase is $1 million, explain how this was increased, then it's up to you to explain it. Why are they not that fast in handling you as a professional? Because on the other side, if you're a professional, you are able to offset your losses against your other income. That's the other story, that's the other side of the story. So let's say if they treat you in 2019 as a professional, your income from trading is taxed, but in 2020 there is a loss, then this loss you're able to offset against other income like salary. So that's why they are not really quick, but we had cases in 2017 where the income was dramatically, and thousands of transactions, and there we provided to tax authorities an accounting for these transactions. Yeah, absolutely.
Hi. Okay, I'll just talk about it. It's not that long. So you mentioned about the worldwide taxable assets. What about businesses that one owns in another country? I mean, for a publicly traded company, it's a different issue. But if it's a, like, let's say a startup, how does that get evaluated, and how do you go about that?
Yeah, it depends what kind of participation it is. If it's a participation in shares, most likely shares are taxable in Switzerland, even if the startup company is in Singapore or in New York or whatever. So you are owner of shares, and the shares have a valuation, and the valuation of the shares are taxed as wealth. In a startup company, most likely, if there is no income, then the paid in capital, even minus losses, is the valuation of the shares. But cantons are treating this valuation different, like Zurich. They try to see the financing rounds, and if there is a financing round with a certain valuation, then it's possible that this is increasing your wealth, which could cost you a lot of money. But on the other side, if you sell the shares later, after 3-4 years, and you double or triple or whatever your investment, that's tax-free. It's tax-free. If you receive dividends on these shares, normally not the questions on startups, but if you would get dividends from this investment, they are taxed as income. Maybe on a reduced situation if you own more than a certain percentage, 10%, 5%.
Okay.
Doesn't matter if the company is in Switzerland or abroad. Maybe just.
Just speak louder, please say that.
Sorry, just following.
Please, can you please say your name and organization?
Sol, private organization. Just following up from that gentleman's question. If the income gained from the shares from a company in another country is already taxed in that country, am I liable to pay tax again in Switzerland?
No, you don't have to pay any tax on capital gains.
Okay.
So if you're a private person investing in a startup in shares, and you sell the shares after a certain time, this is capital gain. It's not taxed in Switzerland.
Okay.
So
it may have already been taxed.
Yeah, if there is somewhere a taxation on that in another, that doesn't matter. It's not deductible, but yeah.
And income generated from that business, let's just say there's a business already operating, and one gets taxed on the income, not necessarily dividends, but is one still liable to pay tax again in Switzerland?
Normally, dividends are always taxed before on the level of the company, even in Switzerland. So if you have a company in Switzerland or abroad, and the company has gains, then there is on the level of the company, there is normally, maybe not on the British Virgin Islands, but normally there is a tax on the income on the level of the company. Later, if the company pays out the dividend, this is in Switzerland taxed. You are taxed on dividends you receive on shares you own, and there is maybe a reduction of tax if you own a certain percentage of the company. If there is already a tax at source on the dividends, like in the States or something like that, then it depends on the double tax treaties. Normally you get a part back, or a part is against the tax you have to pay, but it depends on the country that pays the dividends. But most likely there is a tax at source, 15%, 30%. A part you get back as a credit or against your Swiss tax, and the part is normally lost. That's normally how it works. In Switzerland, if a Swiss company pays out the dividend, there is a 35% withholding tax, and you reclaim this 35% withholding tax through your Swiss tax return. And you get it back, 100% of the 35%, and you pay tax on your private level in 2022, if you're on the house. Yeah?
I have a question, Robertus from the Business Foundation. How do you actually tax options for token? So let's assume you have in your agreement for your employees, you offer the options to receive a certain amount of token vested over 2 years. How is that treated tax-wise?
If a company pays a part of the salary to its employee in tokens or options or shares. We have a lot of companies here in Zug. They are quoted somewhere in the United States in the pharmaceutical sector. And if they do pay to their employees shares or options or whatever or as a bonus program, that's always ruled with the tax authorities. Normally options are not taxed at the time that you get them, but if you exercise them, then normally they are taxed, and there is also social security involved. But if a company is paying out, in addition to its salaries, total or options or shares or whatever, it's normally ruled with tax authorities.
So it's separate treatment.
It's a separate treatment. It has to be showed in your salary statement. It's a separate treatment. And most likely, the difference between the price you get it and the market price, it's taxed. And if there is a period of 2 years blocked or whatever, then there is a reduction. But it's always ruled. I wouldn't recommend a company giving shares or options without the ruling.
As part of this year, there's always a difference between the company that's paying out the options or the share or whatever at the end of the year. As far as I know, they do get taxed on that year, and then the person who's receiving it, the employee, if he then sells the share 2 years down the road, then in 2 years he will get taxed, or he claims that the company who's giving it out, for them it's different, right?
Yeah, if that's another story, but most likely we had situations with tokens where a company created tokens and they had no value in the balance sheet when they were created, and when they were given out, then they had an income on that, but on the other side the salary was to offset against. So it's zero. Normally it's not an income in the company, because the increase from the token from zero to the price they give it to you is offset with the salary, but social security and all of that.
Just Guido from this foundation. I have an additional question. If you have an agreement that you get a special bonus in tokens, but to a specific value in Swiss franc, and then the tokens are given for any reasons later on and have changed their value, which is the point of time where you measure it? Are you measuring the Swiss franc amount, which was fixed in the contract, or you're measuring the cost, the exchange cost from at the point of time when you transfer the token?
You know, I'm very happy. I'm 30 years in this business, because I saw all of that in 30 years ago when company gave. I'm talking about options on shares now, but it doesn't matter if these are options on shares or on cars or on tokens. But 30 years ago, normally the options were given and taxed at the date where the options were given to its employees. And the reason was because most options increased, and as let's say the option was given for 2 francs, this was your income, social security, income tax. Later, if the option increased up to 12 francs, this was capital gain for you as an employee, because it was in your wealth, it was a capital gain. Now, after the dot-com bubble, all the shares went to zero. You know, so the employees paid tax and social security on the price, and 2 years, because they were blocked for 2 years or a year, and 2 years later the options were zero, and they paid tax and social security on zero. And that was the time when most of the companies changed the system. So now most likely what we see, if you get options on something, on shares or on whatever, they are taxed at the date of the exercise when they are free to sell. Because then the value is real, you are able to sell it, you are able to whatever you do, and this is the price to be taxed in social security. As from this moment, it's in your private wealth, and there is it's capital gain if the value increases. If the value goes down, there is nothing to offset as a private person.
To your question there, that when it's exercised, it's taxed as income, and then thereafter would it be considered as an asset and then you would get the change in value in capital gains? How would it be recorded with the tax authorities? Because the change of value has happened during the, I guess, the
yeah, because as long as they are bought, then they are organized by the company normally, and they are on a special account with a bank or a CompuServe or whatever, all these different places, and at the moment that they are transferred to you exercise, then the company has to file for taxes and the Social Security. And that's from this moment in your private wealth, and then it's capital gain without any taxes. Yeah.
Hi, me again. Is there any significant difference between a B permit holder and a C permit holder with regards to anything that you've said?
If you are a C permit holder or a Swissy, then you get a tax return. There is no tax at source.
Okay.
If you're a B permit holder, there is tax at source normally. There are some exceptions if you own real estate or whatever, but normally you are taxed at source. This is all organized by a company, and you only get a tax return if your income is more than 120,000 Swiss francs per year. So if you start to work in December only, and your income is 20, you get a tax return. But your income has to be above 120. If your income is below 120, you will not get automatically a tax return from tax authorities. But, now that's very important, it doesn't mean that you don't have to file a tax return. If you have wealth, assuming you have participations, you have a house abroad, if your wealth is more in Zurich, more than 200,000, and your income, you have to tell me, is more than 500 francs out of your wealth, interests, dividends, rental income abroad or whatever, you have to file a tax return. If you don't do it, and you file it maybe 3 or 4 years later, realize that you had a lot of wealth or enough wealth then you will get a penalty. This is a problem, and nobody knows it.
Well, thanks for that.
But if you're a B permit holder and your income is more than 120, you will get a tax return anyway.
That 120 is total,
Per year.
Swiss plus.
Sorry?
Total is in like Swiss-based income plus foreign income, or is that 120 just for?
No, because Swiss authority normally is only aware of your Swiss income.
Okay.
So let's say if you work here for a company, your income is 90,000. That's the only thing they see. If you have 50 houses abroad and you get income there for whatever it is, they will not see it. So you have to file yourself.
Okay.
That's very important.
Thank you.
There is a question here from the people that is following the live stream.
Hi.
Shirley is asking, Shirley from Bella's blockchain, does technically lock-up coins or tokens have to be declared as well? The lock-up period is 1 year.
And she received those from her company, or?
Potentially. She just is asking if the tokens are lock-up, does this has to be declared?
But it really normally there is a tax ruling. If a company is providing its employees with tokens or
that may not be what she's asking. You purchase tokens from some company. Block Street was one last year, the SAC-approved one. You didn't get all the tokens. They're released, they're locked up so that you can't trade them. So they're released over a period of about 3 years.
Oh, that's not tokens you received from a company. That's a right you bought to get tokens later.
No, I believe it's Shirley. She's working for a big blockchain company.
Okay.
So I assume she's getting that as part of her salary.
Okay.
And if you get it as part of the salary, the question is, if it's still locked, you will have to tax it already.
There is a tax ruling. If a company is providing you locked shares or locked
there's
tokens.
something wrong. You say there is a tax ruling, you should say there should be a tax ruling.
There has to be a tax ruling. Normally blocked rights like options are taxed at zero in your tax return, but again on the wealth side, but again ruled, but has to be showed in your wealth. Meaning that you show I have the right to get 2,000 tokens, 2,000 shares, 2,000 whatever, and I have these options for it, and normally it's zero wealth tax on it, and normally no income because they don't pay any income. But really, and if the company has not ruled this situation, then I think it's time to do it.
That opens up the question, which she may not be asking, but there is a question where you can, as a private individual, buy tokens. This isn't an option, because Blockstack did have options, okay? And then you actually had to buy tokens for cash or Ethereum, whatever. But you didn't get all of them. They are released slowly over time into your wallet, into your address. So they have a smart contract or something that does this, and they're released slowly. So you pay for them. It's not an option, but you don't hold them, and you don't have access to them. So what's your tax situation? You're that direct, because you don't actually have them.
Yeah.
You have bought them, but it's not an option. It's just that they're not delivered to you as such.
Then you have to show it in your tax return, like you show the bank accounts, like you show a prepayment for an apartment, whatever, as a value, and with the price you paid. And the day they are provided and maybe on the market, then they have a market price.
But is it not a liability, in the accounting, because you've actually paid for it, but you haven't got it? You know what I mean?
The most important thing in taxation is that you show what you have, even if the price is wrong. If you show I have the right on 500 tokens or I have 500 tokens, even if the price is wrong, but it showed, that's the most important. You will not be killed on the price you provided. But important you show it. We have often the situation that people own business, we don't know what's the price for it. But important we show the 100 shares he has in the company, in wherever the company is, and not having troubles later if the price increases. That's the most important.
Just she's clarifying that these tokens are not part of her salary, but it's a bonus.
It's a bonus. A bonus is income, and is subject to social security and tax.
Okay, perfect. Is there any other questions, or we can?
So I've got some questions on properties. For example, till now I was paying to employer, and let's say I'm the owner of some properties abroad. Nobody never asked me about that because I was paying my parents pay. So if I want to sell them, and then the income comes to Swiss banking account, what's that? I have a problem, yeah? Or yeah.
You see, that's typically a situation we see often. We do really a lot of tax returns for private people. So one thing I said before, you just you didn't receive the tax return, so you were not aware that you have to file for income you have abroad, like typically property or life insurance maybe, or shares or whatever. And yes, the problem will be if you sell the house, you make a gain, which is taxed abroad. Switzerland is not taxing real estate gain abroad, but assuming you get money, you bring it to Switzerland, you buy a house in Switzerland, they see your wealth, they see the increase of the wealth, so that your wealth increased by whatever it is. They will ask questions. That's typically.
So as long as money stays abroad, they are not shown in Switzerland. That's not a problem, or?
It's a problem because you have to show, first you have to show your worldwide income and your worldwide wealth. Doesn't matter if the account is in Switzerland, in Germany, in France, or the real estate. So it has to be shown. And don't forget there is the information exchange of bank accounts. So maybe the Swiss authorities will receive the information, maybe they will use it, maybe not. They get millions of informations. So I'm not sure if they are able to check every situation, but there is an information exchange between countries about not about real estate, but about bank accounts.
So just that did some work for European banks with those reports, the EU ones, and the Swiss is now kind of part of that same system. But the report a few years ago
the bank reporting to the EU for foreign bank accounts was just the interest, because they were interested in the taxation of the interest rather than what you actually have in the bank accounts. They didn't actually exchange the total amounts that were in those bank accounts. They have changed since. I don't know what the situation is with Switzerland, but I would imagine that system's already set up with working banks, so they just linked into that. My guess is.
Look, I'm not a specialist in all these bank issues, but from my understanding, if you live in Switzerland and your bank account is abroad, in a country which has an exchange with Switzerland, they will provide, from my understanding, the income and the valuation as per end of the year. So they will give the information to Switzerland. If this is 5,000 euros in somewhere in Germany and 3 euros of income, maybe tax authorities will not even review those numbers, but the exchange was done. Actually, there is a situation where you are able to open all these situations to tax authorities without any penalty once in your lifetime, and you have valid back for 10 years. So let's say if you came to Switzerland 2-3 years ago and you have the house abroad, I would really recommend maybe to open this up against tax authorities, file it and pay a little tax, which is not the end of the days, and then it's you have a clean house, and if you bring the monies later to Switzerland to buy a house, that's all fine because it's in your wealth.
But then, do I, for example, to declare those properties, because like I said, nobody asked about it.
I understand, that's the situation. Look, the taxation,
So let's say, because my friends got also similar case. So where should we go? Like to the tax office to say, hey,
you have to go to the place where you're taxed. So if you live in the canton of Zug, then you have to file with tax authority Zug. Maybe if the tax burden was only a little bit, they will not even open the taxes, and they will not open the filing backwards. But as another information, real estate abroad is not taxed in Switzerland. It's only taken into consideration for your tax rate. So meaning, if your income in Switzerland after all the deduction is, say, 50,000, and your net income from the real estate abroad, because you did rent it out, is 5,000 francs as an example, they will not tax those 5,000 francs in Switzerland, but your tax rate for the 50,000 is calculated on 55,000. So the income abroad from real estate is not taxed, but taken into calculation for the tax rate. The same with the wealth. So often there is not a lot of tax you have to pay by showing a house, real estate abroad. And that's why if you file it backwards, tax authorities maybe not even open up the case.
So I think these are pretty much all the questions. So thank you. I mean, you have the opportunity to.
Thank you.
You have the opportunity to ask more and the other two consultants. I just have a final message. There are a lot of questions regarding the topic, and there is going to be a second event, and this time is going to be focusing corporations, because there is a lot of startups that have as well questions. This event is tax for individuals, but on the 18th of March, PwC will be here and they will do a presentation as well, but it will be targeting corporations. So if you are an entrepreneur or you have people in your network that you think could benefit from the event, just let them know. So that's the next event of the series for taxes. Well, thank you very much to everybody for joining us today, and please just go and enjoy the networking and a glass of wine.
Sorry, that was really bad. we may have